All right, so let's get into the reason that you have all come here, which is presumably to find out how the heck to manage your remote workforce. And since I am speaking to an audience of people that work in all sorts of different industries with businesses of all sizes that all have completely unique business needs, this is the agenda that I have planned for us today. So I'm going to be talking through three simple processes that are not only common to pretty much every business, but really, really fundamental, and which have been really challenging to transition into happening primarily, if not completely, in a remote context now. And then hopefully, I want to give you some clarity on how you can use various tools that come with Zoho One to not only overcome these challenges, but to also help you to build a stronger, more connected, and more efficient workforce when you can all share an office space again. I will be doing quite a bit of product demo, but I'm not going to go super deep into setup configurations and things like that. Instead, I'm just going to hone in on some key aspects of these products and talk about what they mean and what they're used for, and show you how they integrate and work together to support the larger goals of keeping things running smoothly when all of your people are working remotely. All right, hopefully, this all sounds good to you. So let's get started. The first place that I want to begin with talking about managing a remote workforce is keeping track of everyone or when everyone is working and what they're working on. So, keeping track of when people are working and when they are not working, this is one of the core responsibilities of managing a workforce. And one of the things it's one of the things that our beloved physical office buildings did for many of us. They carried a large part of that burden just by being a physical marker to, mark if someone shows up here, that means they're at work. And if they leave this building, then they are not at work anymore. But with or without that building, we have to carry this on somehow. So, how do we do it now that everyone is scattered all over the place? And this is where Zoho people can come in. So, in case you are not familiar with this tool that is included with Zoho One, this is our HRMS tool. And if you are not a formal HR person, HRMS stands for Human Resources Management System. But don't let that very jargony term scare you off because while it does mean that it's a very robust application, as people like to say, it's very complex. It can do a whole heck of a lot of things. You don't have to be a formal HR professional to use it and to get value out of that application. So, Zoho People is also going to be at the heart of the presentation itself. It's going to be where I spend the most of my demo time because each product that we're going to talk about today integrates with Zoho People in its own unique way. And so, through these integrations with um, various applications um, that your teams use throughout their workday for things like basic communication and collaboration, project management, etc. You'll find that a sort of virtual office is actually created that houses all of your people and all of the work that they're doing. So we're going to take a look at Zoho People, and I'm going to start with a general overview of where things are and how the app is structured, just to get everyone oriented. Okay. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. Let's let's see if we can successfully stay together in this transition. All right. It looks like you should all be able to see my screen. Let me check the chats. Let me know. Can you see my screen, everyone? All right, awesome. Thank you very much. So, what you are seeing now is Zoho People. This is where you land when you log in to Zoho People. This is your dashboard, which is completely customizable. And we are currently looking at a Zoho People account for a fake design firm that we have created called Out of Line Designs. And I am using the app as the fake CEO that we have named David Ingus. So Zoho People is totally built around HR services and the ability to create, customize, automate and manage those services. So what you are looking at going down the side right here, the left-hand side, these are basically quick links to various services that have already been set up for you. They correspond to this services module right up at the top here. That is all except for one, and that is the self-service module. So self-service is where an employee could come in and, edit their profile information. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. My computer sounds like it is about to take off of my desk or burst into flames or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen. All right, sorry if you can hear it. So an employee can come in here, edit their employee details, see what kind of details are collected, and they can do things like make use of these services that you have given them access to. So, like applying for leave, for instance, that's a good one. So, instead of having to email your boss every time you want to take a day off, an employee could just come in, see the types of leave that they have available to them, and apply for that leave right here. They can also see any leave that they have coming up and whether it's been approved or denied. And this is very much another time related challenge of managing a remote workforce. Because if you don't have one centralized system like this in place, things like managing requested time off or like availability changes for employees that can really, really quickly spiral out of control when everyone is working from home. You could miss an email or a chat where an employee had requested leave, or you could forget to enter their time off that you had already given approval for. And, needless to say, that could lead to many headaches for all involved. So, this self service module is a really great way to give people some agency, some control over their information, and a way that they can quickly, easily, and conveniently make use of the services that you provide your employees, even when they're outside of the office. All right, so we were working our way back up to this services module at the top. And this is the hub for all of those services that you want to create and make available to your users. And users, by the way, that's a Zoho People term for employees within your organization. So anytime you come across the word users in Zoho People, read employees in your organization. I want to give you a quick pro tip here. All of these services that you see right now, these are here by default. These come out of the box, as they say. And that's because they're pretty common to many organizations. But what some people may not know is that if these services do not make sense for you or your organization, you can totally get rid of them. You can also rename them to something that would just help you better remember what it actually does. So, for instance, here in the United States, where I am, we typically refer to leave as time off. So, if that word leave is tripping you up, or if you think leave tracker is just weird and it would make it hard for your employees to get an immediate sense of what it does, then just change it to something that makes more sense to you and for your people. And you would do that right here. So you click on that little settings wheel, and now you're looking at the skeletons of all of those services out there in the services module. And another useful thing to know is that all of these services, every service is made up of forms. And so you'll see the name of the service here, and then the forms that make up that service. And what a form does is just collect basically whatever data you want. And it's a way that you can structure different automated processes and move that data around. So let's take a look at one of the forms. You can see that they can get really, really complex, and they're really customizable. It collects employee information. So you can remove some of these fields if you like. You can add new fields that would collect information that you want to see or do stuff with. But this is really not where you want to start as a early beginner with this. But I think it is good to know what you're looking at when you come in here. So if you want to just disable one of these default services that you don't need, say maybe it's cases, you could just simply toggle it off and then it won't appear anymore. You'll never see it again in that main services module, unless you toggle it right back on. Very easy to replace as well. And if you want to rename the service, you can by clicking this little pen and just rename it to whatever. I'm going to call cases questions because that's what the cases module or service does. It collects employee questions. But I'm going to change the name back because I don't want to confuse any other employees that might make use of this demo account later. All right. So that is how you customize those things here. And I'm going to hop back in very quickly to the presentation just to check in on everyone. I want to make sure everything is still going all right here. Make sure that you can all still see me. I make sure I don't have a bunch of messages telling me. Okay, awesome. Looks like things are going well. Perfect. So let's now look at our timekeeping and project management options back in Zoho People. All right. I'm going to share my screen again. We're going to jump back into People. We are still in the services module. I'm going to come back out here, looking at all of the services. And you will notice that you have two different time-based services. One is called Attendance and one is called Time Tracker. Both keep track of time in different ways. So which one do you use? That's a complicated question, but I'm going to try to give you a very general guideline. So if your remote workforce is paid by time spent on jobs or projects, like if you bill a client for the labor spent on a job, so it's really important that your employees keep track of the work hours that they're spending on each task or job that corresponds to a larger project. So in other words, if project management is central to the way that your team works, then you're definitely going to want to stick with the time tracker module. So let's take a look at it. The three most important parts of this time tracker module, you get dumped into the time logs view by default, but this is these are the parts of the module on the left-hand side over here. And the three main parts are time logs, timesheets, and projects and jobs, okay? Projects and jobs, this area is where you as a manager or an admin could come in and create and assign jobs which are part of larger projects which get associated with clients. That's the relationship between these three things here. And that's very important to know if this is the way that you're going to track time. So you'd start with clients, make sure that you have them. If this is the way that your business keeps track of work, you could integrate people with CRM and pull your client list from CRM, which is done. It's been done in this account. So as you can see, this icon means that these clients have all come in from the CRM. Then you would create a project and associate it with, whatever client. You would name it, you would fill out all the details, and then you would submit it. And then you would create a job that gets associated with a project. And you do the same thing, okay? So you fill out all of the, you configure all of the little things to set these up according to how you're going to use them. So like the project manager, for instance, you could set the project manager at the project level. You can assign users or, again, employees from your organization to work on this project. And then if you're creating a job, you can assign from that group of people that are going to be working on the project different assignees that are responsible for an individual job. You can configure each person's rate of pay for the project if that's how you pay them, etc. So now here is where we can take a look at how another Zoho product integrates with Zoho People. So you may have noticed when we were looking at this projects area here, this little checkmark logo on some of these records. If you are a Zoho user and you work in this kind of project-based way, then you likely recognize that as being the logo for Zoho Projects, which is one of our project management apps that also comes with Zoho One. And the reason that you're seeing that there is because Zoho People also integrates with projects and can pull in projects from that application, which is what has been done here. So this integration makes it possible for an employee who maybe is used to doing all of their work in projects with their team to just stay in projects and have the work that they do and the time that they spend automatically come over into people as well. So this integration will pull in timesheets from projects, and it will push approved time logs from Zoho people into projects. I feel like I'm saying the word projects a million times, but that's what this integration does. And you can have this done automatically or manually. So there's also a two-way sync of an employee's requested time off, which is pretty cool and very useful. And I can show you that now. So I'm going to hop over into a totally different product now. So stay with me. We're just going to flip right over into Zoho projects now. And I am now a completely different employee from the same fake company. Her name is Bessie. So if an employee like Bessie is used to doing everything from within projects, they can also request their time off there. And that leave request will also automatically be reflected in their Zoho People profile. So let's view her calendar. And she already has a few days off scheduled, as we can see, but we're gonna keep that week clear for Bessie and request some more time off. Let's say she's taking, you can select the leave type. So let's say it's vacation time. It was for the 28th, I believe. And, you can fill these out as well. And then save that. And now we see that Bessie is also unavailable on the 28th. So that has been updated here in projects, which is what we expect to happen. Her team can now all see that she's not available for work on this day, but let's check out what happens with Zoho People, okay? So we're going to hop into her People account. Again, going to a totally different product. Stay with me. We're going to check out her leave tracker. And you can see that, yes, Friday, the 28th of August, she has a vacation day that has been approved. So these are all her vacation days that are coming up. We also see that this has kept her leave balance correct, which is hugely important. So anytime she wants to log in here, this is always going to be accurate, no matter where she is requesting that leave. And this just is really great for keeping everyone in the loop without having to send any messages to anyone or reminders or update like a bunch of calendars. It's easy for HR. It's easy for the person's team lead. It's easy for everyone else on the team. But most importantly, it's easy for this employee, which should really be the core value of any HR service. All right, so I'm going to go back to being the owner of this fake company, back to being David, still in Zoho People. But before we looked at that projects integration, we were talking about how these three attributes, clients, projects, and jobs, all get bound together for projects created in Zoho People. So once that happens and a project has been assigned out to people, when an employee logs into Zoho People and goes to the time tracker, if this is where they begin their work, they will begin at a time log. This is what they would be seeing. So here we go. Is already on the clock. We'll stop his time. But this is where they would go and select the job that they're going to begin working on. And it doesn't matter which one of these attributes they select here, because as we talked about, these three attributes all get bound together. So even if I just remember only the name of a job, shoot video, it's going to auto-populate these other attributes that are connected. And then they would just start time on that project. They could also manually enter time for a job or a project by clicking log time here. So if you have allowed it in your organization settings, then a user could just come in and set the start and end time that they worked on a job, or enter the hours directly if that is something that is allowed. So then they would, you know, make these time log entries to generate timesheets. And here is where they would generate a timesheet, depending on your organization's schedule or whatever policy around that you want to set up. So that is project based time tracking in a nutshell. But on the other hand, if you pay your employees generally on an hourly basis instead, that's not task or project dependent, or if your employees are salaried, but you just don't necessarily break work down in that way, but you do want to keep track of the general work time that they're putting in, and when they're expected to be available for work, or when they don't show up to know when they don't show up. Um, then you want to focus primarily on the attendance module. And this is where you can configure shifts for all of your employees. And if this is how your people work based on shifts, then you know already that it can get very, very complex very quickly. So, just for the sake of brevity, I'm not going to go into all these settings, but I do want to show you, you know, there are a lot of settings that you can come in and really get um, your attendance policies really fine tuned and set up. Okay. And it's going to allow you to set different shifts for different employees, their start times, their end times. It's going to allow you to keep track of the different time zones people are in and set mandatory breaks in the shifts, and configure pay schedules, all of that. And that's all done in the attendance module. Now, you can definitely use both of these time tracking modules at the same time, and you likely will to some extent. It's certainly not an either or type thing. Maybe you have a case where employees are salaried, but part of how you like to hold your teams accountable and track what they're doing is by having them itemize the way that they spend their time. In that case, the time tracker module is great. Maybe even with that project integration, and just set everything to non billable. This is still going to keep track of time spent on projects or jobs, but it would be more for a performance thing. And then you could use the attendance module right around, along with it, and configure very specific attendance policies. So, for instance, you can configure attendance policies that restrict checking in or checking out based on where an employee is located, or based on their IP address as well. So the geo restriction that allows you to control clocking in and clocking out from where a person is located, this is definitely more useful when everyone is working from a set office location. We have 2 office locations set up here. But what you can do is do things like set up automatic check-in as soon as an employee enters the office location that you've set, and then set automatic checkout when they leave, that sort of thing. All right, so that is a very general overview of how time and even work productivity can be tracked within Zoho People. But I'm going to go back to the presentation here. And let's talk about a different problem. Now, we're going to move into another issue. And this is the problem of how to keep everyone connected and communicating effectively. This is a really, really big one because it has such a huge impact, not only on how well a person might be able to actually do their job, but also um, it also impacts how satisfying their work actually is. So, in an article that was published on Forbes.com, that listed top 10 factors for employee happiness on the job. Um, this was taken from a poll conducted by Boston Consulting Group. They surveyed over 200,000 people around the world. And you can see that the top 5 issues, these are all completely dependent on good communication. So this was pre-COVID, but I'm willing to bet this is still just as true now as it was then, because people are still people. And as many businesses have had to very hastily adopt an entirely remote model for work, it's really more important now than ever to take a really close look and evaluate the communication tools that your entire company is using. Ask yourself, are these flexible tools? Are they secure? Does everyone use the same tools, or is it user's choice? That has a huge effect, not only on how easy or difficult it is to reach someone, but on productivity as a whole. Having a situation where your employees just kind of have to figure out their own communication tools for themselves, this could lead to major communication and then, of course, subsequent relationship breakdowns during this period where no one is really seeing each other in person anymore. But fortunately, if you are a Zoho One user, you have access to two really fantastic communication tools that have everything you need, with the added bonus of being integrated with the other tools that you use for work. And I'm talking about Zoho Connect and Zoho Click. So, pretty much any time we talk about these two products, we get the question, what's the difference between Connect and Click? So, the simple difference is that Click is an app that's designed for quick communication in the form of chats, though it does have more functionality than that, as I will show you. Um, and it has been woven throughout all of our other applications. Connect, on the other hand, that is our intranet tool where your organization can connect to share resources and communicate in a more long form way with their teams, or with their entire organization, and even hold meetings and manage team tasks, things like that. So that's the basic explanation of the differences of between Click and Connect. But I'll talk about each a little more in depth, beginning with Click. So, Click is our chat based team communication platform. It's very similar to Slack in concept, if you are familiar with that, but it really goes way beyond what Slack can do. And that's primarily because it is integrated with all of our other products. You can do all of the stuff that's listed here on this slide with Click. So not only messaging, but audio and video calling as well. And screen sharing, those are all possible with Click. You can do video broadcasts with this tool, which allows one or two people to make announcements to the entire organization and do things like host live Q&As, stuff like that, which is, I think, especially important right now because people are stressed about the uncertainty of everything. So it goes a long way when you, as the owner or the CEO or the president of a company, or even as a manager of a team, it goes a long way when you take the time to communicate clearly and openly about the state of your organization and what's going on, and to give people a chance to ask questions and just check in. And I think it's great to do this in a way that is not by mass impersonal email. So Click offers you a great platform to try something like that out if you aren't already. I think chat software is pretty well adopted by now, but a great communication tool has to be really flexible to give us room for all of the nuance that comes with communicating. And context is a thing that's so critically important to communicating effectively. So even if you've come across a great chat tool on its own that gives you all of the flexibility to have different types of conversations like audio or video calling, it's often totally disconnected from all of our other work stuff. And that's where we lose the context. That's what eats into our focus and into our productivity. So, if you're talking to me, for instance, about a document that we're working on together and we're passing it back and forth, our communication about it is going to be much different than if you were just able to share the document right to a chat that we're having. And as soon as I see it, I can actually take action on it by clicking on it, bringing the conversation right over to the doc, and just have this seamless collaboration. That brings focus to the exchange. And it's a much more natural and intuitive way of communicating than like emailing documents back and forth and then using the chat to just ask, like, did you get my email? Did you look at my changes? You know, those kinds of exchanges are all noise that we can really cut through with a solution that is connected to our work tools like Click is. Um, Click also has a desktop and a mobile version of this app, which is really cool. You can keep the exchanges happening seamlessly, totally seamlessly from wherever you are. And it's a tool that is not only deeply integrated in all of Zoho's applications, as I mentioned, but there are also many, many third party extensions that you can plug Click into. And then those extensions become additional actions you can take with certain chats, like those containing a shared file, for instance. So here you can see that this person is able to take all these extra actions that are over there on the right-hand side with a file that has been shared to them because they've integrated Click with these other tools that they use for work. So here's an opportunity, it's giving the opportunity to delegate a task out in Zoho projects, or immediately add it to their Google Drive, things like that. That's all taking place right within the chat window. So if they get this chat on the go, they're immediately able to take meaningful action with that item that was just sent to them instead of having to take the time to maybe make a note or a reminder to themselves to take the action later when they get back to their computer or something. All right, so now I want to show you connect and then, or I mean, sorry, click first and then connect. Because even though I've told you what click can do, I want to show you how it actually connects right into the products that we looked at earlier, like people. So let's actually do that. Let's go right back to Zoho People now. I'm going to share my screen again. All right, you should see my screen. We're viewing Zoho People. This is right where we left off, but I will bet that you didn't notice that the entire time we were looking at both people and projects, that there was this little bar that runs along the bottom here. And that is our chat bar. That's Click, at work within Zoho People right now. And this is how it is woven through all Zoho products. We can actually even go back to projects that we were looking at. Remember, this is Bessie, and this is she's actually receiving a chat. She has received a chat, but you'll notice that that notification, it was not intrusive. I just clicked on it to open it. She would be working, receive a chat, and just get a little yellow notification to let her know that she does have a chat, but she can choose to view that when she wants to, which is really, really important. It enables more focus on the work that you're doing rather than forcing you to jump back and forth, making sure that you're not missing out on any communications that are coming in, things like that. You'll also notice in David's account, so now we're back in Zoho People, you'll notice at the end of his chat bar, you see the little timer going, and that is the timer for the job that we started earlier, okay? So if he clicks on it, if he forgets what he was doing, he's working on the shoot video job, and the timer is going. He can stop that timer right from here if he would like. He can start it again, or he can go look at the job itself without having to dig through a bunch of menus to go see where he was at with that. And all of this is assisted with Zoho Click. I mean, there's no way that something like Slack can show up in your work in that way. All right, so that's how it shows up across all Zoho products. It's always with you, but you can also just go straight to the full application itself as well. So let's do that. What does Click look like? So this is Click in its full glory. And what's cool about the full application is that you have all of these options that are specific to remote work. So you see that setting your status is right up here. It's made very accessible to just quickly let people know what's going on with you. Whether you're available or whether you're busy at work or whether you are on a quick break or a long break. But you can also initiate a group call if you'd like, right from this button. It could be audio, or it could be audio or video. You can also initiate a meeting. You can schedule it for a later time. That would go right to your calendar, all from one button. This check-in button up here, this is also connected directly to your Zoho People attendance. So you wouldn't even have to open up Zoho People to check in for the day. That can be done straight through Click, where you are constantly communicating with your workmates throughout the day. And once you check in, it's going to be totally in sync with Zoho People. So if you bounced back over to People for something, you would see that you were still checked in and that your timer was running in that application as well. If you are real brave, you can even start a live video feed that will enable everyone to just see what you're doing throughout the day. I do have to tell you that this particular feature, it can be made mandatory as a way to, like, I guess, ensure that your employees are always on task. But I feel very compelled to beg you to please not be that company. Please trust that your people are working. If they are working from home and you're mandating a live video stream, these are not happy people. And you want happy people working for you, right? You do. Okay, but the choice is yours. That's there for you to use however you will. Um, you can also use Click to talk to external users as well as users inside your organization. So, in case you communicate with clients for a short time on projects or like vendors or something, as you can see here, we have set up an external channel that is just for vendors for this fake company, which has multiple participants, as two participants that are outside of the organization. You can also do one on one chats with people outside of your organization as well. So, to start guest chats, you would just come right up to this little plus sign and invite a guest using their email address. And does this mean that someone has to be a Click user in order to chat with you on Click, even if they're outside your organization? And the answer is no. You can invite whoever you like. And all they would need to do is accept the invite through their inbox. Then they'll receive a second message with a one time code to key in order to start chatting. But they would not have to create a Click account or anything like that. After they enter that code, it's just going to open up Click in their browser. And then you can, go on with your conversations. All right, so that is Click in a nutshell. But what's Connect all about then? Let's check out Connect. As I mentioned earlier, Connect is designed to be your intranet. So it's one place for the whole organization to come together and basically just share whatever you want. It really becomes the hub of your organization's culture. So, much like Click, Connect is a tool that every single employee in your organization could be using daily because you can post anything in here. You can create groups around your teams or departments that are private, where only the members can see what's shared there. You can create public groups, which can be viewed by anyone. And this is also integrating with Click and yes, Click, but People as well. So we looked at People, and it's going to bring everyone in your organization over. So if I want to search someone in my company, I get the employee information that's coming over from Zoho People. I get her role and in the company. I get her contact information. I also have the ability to start a chat with her right from this area. I can start a phone call with her or a video chat, etc. Email, a private message to her, a meeting, all that good stuff. I can follow her. So that means I can see any activity that she takes, or not that she takes, but I can see the posts that she makes and the way that she interacts within Zoho Connect. So it's also nice if your team works in a task based way, but maybe they don't need something as complex as full on project management software. The Connect Tasks module is actually a really powerful solution for a lot of people that work that way. So you can totally manage team tasks for projects from here by creating these collaborative task boards where you can assign various tasks to people on a team and keep just everyone in the loop on what's happening. If you want to move a project or a part of a project from one phase to the next, it's a really easy click and drag process. You can also set this up to where one person is responsible for each stage. So if I move this over here, it would automatically reassign who's responsible for it now. It would hand off the responsibility for that task to the appropriate person. Super easy, super useful, and keeps everyone in the loop in a very visual way here. It can also be integrated with task boards in other Zoho applications. So you can see here, this has been integrated with Zoho projects. There's the project portal. And there's a lot of projects here, but you can view those right inside Connect as well. You can bring them in from CRM, etc. Okay, so um, and then finally, one final really useful area here um, in Connect are these three integrations that you see going down the side. The first one is Zoho Meeting, which is our meeting application. The next is a conference tool, so a web conference tool. You can have a live conference right from this area. And then finally, we have Zoho Showtime, which is our virtual training tool, which is what I am actually using now. We're all using right now. So what each of these buttons allow you to do is not only launch one of these types of sessions from Zoho Connect, but you can invite people from Connect as well to attend, whether that be entire groups or departments or just individuals if you want. Um, but you can use like the Zoho meeting integration to hold important meetings that you have to have with entire departments or with department heads, but then automatically record those meetings that will then be published right to Connect for people in other groups to see. You can also do the same with a live video conference where you can launch a live session for the entire organization to participate in if you wanted, invite people to comment and interact with you in real time. And then you could use the Showtime integration to put together training sessions with presentations and study materials that you can, again, record and post directly to Connect, making it available to whoever you want in the organization. And just like with Click, you also have the ability to invite guests from outside of your organization to view those materials and resources as well. So it allows you to keep these materials private and inside your company, but also giving you the flexibility to bring someone inside your organization's space and make use of this content. All right. So that actually leads me to my final remote work challenge, and that is training employees remotely. And this can be a challenge because there's just all kinds of training that you have to oversee when you are managing a remote workforce, when you're managing any workforce. Some is industry specific, having to do with various compliance certifications. Employees are all familiar with the various corporate privacy or harassment trainings that we have to endure every year. Um, that usually requires us to attend a virtual training hosted like on a very ugly third party website or something. But it's really hard to orchestrate all of those things that people hate because you've got to register everyone in your organization and then make sure everyone has done what they're supposed to do, this thing that they absolutely don't want to do and that they absolutely will put off to the last minute before a deadline. And that's hard enough when you see everyone in the office every day, let alone when you don't see anyone ever. So you also have the opportunity in your organization for other types of training to provide the type of training that upgrades the skill set of your people. And that's where having an LMS really becomes key. So if you've never heard the term LMS before, it stands for Learning Management System, and it gives you the ability to create, present, and publish course materials. And these are incredibly useful for providing training to employees, but more than that, they're great for just being one place where all these types of trainings that you have to oversee exist. And this is where the LMS module in Zoho People comes in. So not only is Zoho People an HRMS, as we talked about, but it's also a full-fledged LMS as well, which is pretty crazy. And what it allows you to do is create 3 different types of course materials that you can put together and publish within Zoho People for employees to not only complete, but to actually earn certification from and upgrade their skill level, depending on how you have set up the courses. So these are just the 3 types of course material, or these are the 3 types of course material that you can set up, and only 2 of the 3 would earn an employee some sort of level up or certification at the end. And that is the first 2, the self-paced learning and the blended learning. The e-materials type, this is a type of course that anyone in the organization can put together at any time and just share anywhere. So it's a really good opportunity for skill sharing within the organization as well. It's really cool. So the final thing that I will do is give you a tiny little peek at the LMS in People. So because it is so new, I'm going to share my screen again. Because it's so new, we haven't built anything exciting really here for demo purposes. Let me go back to Zoho People. This is the LMS module down here. And these are our sad courses that we're trying to build out at this time in this demo account. But I can just, show you what it looks like and where you would get started. So this is where you would get started, what it looks like. And as you can see, all of these things are drafted, so no one in the organization would be able to access these until you actually publish them. You can also restrict access to these courses, even when they are published, in case you have specific training that is for specific departments or individuals only. Or you can set restrictions so that an employee has to complete a certain set of courses before they can unlock another certain course or set of courses. So to begin a new course, you would come up to add course, you'd name it. I name it webinar. It's a blended learning type. And then begin building that out. So one of the things that is unique to the blended learning course type is this ability to create different what's called batches within the course. And what a batch is here is groups of learners, so like employees that you're going to invite to the course, and material that's going to be specific to that group of learners. So one use case for this would be that you could create one training course for, say, an office in China and an office in Japan. So in this one course, you would create two batches, one for the China office with materials in Chinese, and one for the Japan office with materials in Japanese. So that is unique only to the blended learning type of course. Other than that, you would just continue to upload various materials. You can pull them in from third-party sources and just continue to build that course out until it is ready to be published, and then click that publish button. All right, so that is all that I have for you today in terms of product demo and stuff. We went through a few different products today, quite a few, but Zoho People is definitely the most complex one of all of those. And while it may have felt like I went into a lot of different things in that product, I assure you, I did not even scratch the surface there. So I'm including a link to the Zoho People YouTube channel because they've got some helpful in-depth tutorials there, as well as a link to our partners page. So if you're interested in connecting with someone who could really get into your organization and help you through the extensive customizations that are possible within Zoho People, you can use the map there to find partners near you and connect with them. I have also included a very handy Zoho People setup guide in your handouts. Your handouts are, I think, the last module on your left-hand side before you get down to the notes. I hope. I hope that's where it is, but just look for handouts. And there should be a guide there. If you cannot access that guide, if you click on it and it just doesn't do anything, let me know and I will just email it to you in case you're interested. Um, and the next thing is if you're heartily weathering the storms of remote work, but you're also very much looking ahead and exploring options on how you can get your people back into the office together in a safe way, definitely check out our upcoming webinar tomorrow on that topic. So it's going to be led by Tejas, who is a technology evangelist here at Zoho, and he will be talking with Holger Mueller, who is the vice president and principal analyst at Constellation Research, and Treben Roy, who is a customer experience manager on the creator team here at Zoho. And they will all be talking about Zoho's new free product, which is called Back to Work. And it's a customizable modular solution that enables businesses to transition safely back into the workplace. So that webinar is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it should be a really good one. So check it out if you are interested. Okay, and finally, if you have any questions or comments about this webinar or anything Zoho related at all that you want to discuss further, please reach out to me. This is my email address. And if you are a Click user and you want to try out that guest feature, hey, invite me for a chat. Let's talk on Click. I would love to. All right. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really, really do appreciate it.